Hi class, and welcome to this week's lesson, Lesson 7. Before we jump in and start talking about the course material for this week, I wanted to give you guys a big thank you for filling out the instructor survey. It's what you filled out during week 5, giving myself some feedback about how I'm doing as an instructor. I really appreciate that. It's 100% anonymous, so I have no idea what anybody said. But I really do appreciate that because over the time that I've taught for BYU Idaho and now Pathway, I really utilize that feedback to try and improve my teaching style. From that feedback, overwhelmingly, I see that a lot of people like these videos, so I'm glad that you're liking the videos and that they're helpful for you. I will admit, this semester I feel like I've been getting lots of feedback on the videos, like people commenting below, so I appreciate that. Keep that up. Another semester, sometimes people like them, sometimes people don't. So I'm glad that you like them. I will keep doing them. The one major thing that I will try and work on between now and the end of the semester is quicker grading. I think that was kind of overwhelmingly probably something that came back as something that I can improve on, is the time frame for grading. With that, I did want to give you a little bit of insight. I can't remember if I talked about this in the first week or not, but what we are told as instructors is that we have 1 week to grade an assignment from when it's turned in. So your assignments that are turned in on Wednesday aren't technically due to be graded on my end until the following Wednesday. Same thing Saturday to the following Saturday. So with that, I know that sometimes for you would like it a little bit quicker because there's a little bit of lag, right? I will try and get better at that. In a perfect world, if I could map out my schedule perfectly and have more time to get grading done, I would like to grade those assignments you're turning in on Wednesday, like on Thursday and Friday, so you can use some of my feedback for what you turn in on Saturday. I'm gonna try and start doing that. Can't promise I'll be 100%, but I will definitely try and improve that grading cycle and get a little bit faster on it. So thank you for that feedback. Another thought that came to mind this week, and I'm not exactly 100% sure why it came to mind. I think I did have an email from a student about losing some of his work or computer problems or something, and something just came into my mind. This again has nothing to do with the coursework or anything like that. This is just a recommendation I have for you as students. And that is, as you're doing your assignments, as you're writing these papers and you're doing math problems and you're using different files on your computer, whether it's a Word document or an Excel document, definitely make sure that you're backing those up somewhere. I know you're probably saving them on your computer, but I would highly recommend having a backup. Now, whether you plug a hard drive in and routinely back up your computer, maybe you're saving them on a cloud service. I personally like using things like Dropbox or Google Drive, or if you're a Mac fan, they've even got kind of a cloud service that you can save files on. I would definitely recommend doing that because you don't know what's going to happen. You could, especially, I feel like in this day and age, a lot of people use laptops. And so if you're using a laptop, chances are you're transporting it around a lot. It's real easy, a good possibility that it could break, or you could drop it on accident or something like that. So make sure that all your work that you're doing, you have saved at least in 2 locations. A little kind of story from when I was in school. This was before there was cloud services, so I saved everything on a little thumb drive. And there was a certain program that I had to use on a university computer. I couldn't even use it on my own. I kept my entire semester's worth of work on there. And the day before I had to turn in my final project, something I had probably spent like 25 hours working on, that little thumb drive was sitting on the ground, and my roommate stepped on it and broke it. And it was terrible. It was one of those times it was just like, what do I do? It was at a whole semester's worth of work. I think my final was worth like 50% of my grade. Now luckily I was able to like solder together a couple of pins on the drive to plug it into a computer just enough to pull my files off, and it kind of saved it. So personally, just please be backing your stuff up somewhere, so that way you don't have to go through that headache, right? If something happens, you've got a backup and you're good to go. So that's just a little tidbit from me. Not necessarily just for this class, but anything going forward, make sure that you're backing up those files somewhere. All right, let's jump into this week's course material. So the life skills this week, we're going to be starting a new segment. It's going to be about, we're going to start talking about personal finances. I know about 3 weeks ago we talked about start recording your daily spending, your weekly spending, because you're going to start using those. So this week we will start the introduction to personal finances. You're not going to be using that data yet, so keep collecting it. I believe next week, week 8, you'll start using that data. But we're going to start the discussion about personal finances. I think this is one that a lot of people are really going to really be able to relate to. Now, I know some of you, maybe you're already financial gurus and you've been budgeting for years, and maybe this is just going to be like a reminder lesson for you. That's great. Maybe some of you are in a different situation where maybe you just finished high school and you don't have a job right now. You're just going to school, and so it's like, I don't have a lot of income right now, and I don't have a mortgage payment or anything like that. So, what's personal finance is good for me. Whether you're somebody that needs this lesson, right? Anybody can get something out of this lesson. So, whatever boat you're in, there's going to be something for you this week, and I hope you really like it. Let me know if you have any questions. I love this kind of stuff. I think it's really fascinating because it really affects your life. In writing, the writing portion of this week, we're going to be talking about evaluating sources. So this is a key one as you start writing papers and citing sources and stuff. You really want to evaluate those sources. You don't want to just use whatever. I mean, the internet is great, but it's also, anybody can put anything on the internet. Wikipedia, anybody can go in and edit on Wikipedia. I don't know if you know that, but anybody could go write whatever they want. Now, people could also go in and delete if somebody put something wrong. So as much as discredit as Wikipedia gets, it usually has some pretty good sources to it. What I like to use Wikipedia for is a lot of time you go to the bottom of the page and it shows all the sources. So I would go to those sources. Maybe don't take it straight from Wikipedia. Go to those sources, then you can see how valid the information really is. Some key things that you want to look for. You'll want to look for, is it current? Is it relevant? Who wrote it, right? I mean, if I'm reading a paper about some medical procedure and it's on, some guy's blog, personal blog, yeah, I probably don't want to, I'm not going to take medical advice from him, right? I want it to be a doctor that's telling me this kind of stuff. So look at who's writing the articles. Do they have a background that allows them to be considered a professional in that? Is it accurate? Maybe compare a few. Out in the world, there's a lot of contradicting things out there. So typically, maybe you can find some sources that kind of validate one source or something like that. If you can only find one source stating something, maybe it's kind of, maybe that's not the best source, because if nobody else has backed it up or validated it, maybe it's not true. And then, does the article or does the source have a clear purpose? Is it obvious what they're trying to get across, or are they kind of skirting around the subject and really never make a claim on it, So it's something just to be thinking about, and you'll learn more about how to do this, how to make sure that you evaluate your sources and what are good sources, but definitely always be thinking that as you are reading sources, you should automatically think, should I trust this source? Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing in writing. In math, we're going to be starting fractions. I love this subject. I love fractions because you use them so often. I know people sometimes think, it's so much easier. I don't like fractions because I can type it in. It's hard to type in on a calculator. But you think about what you use daily. If you've ever baked, it's always fractions, right? Anytime you're cooking something, a quarter cup this, a third cup that, right? Or cup this, 1 1/3 cup this. So you use fractions all the time when you're baking in the kitchen. If you've ever been into any sort of DIY woodworking type stuff, always measuring in fractions, always measuring in fractions. Now I will admit fractions are used more on the English system. The metric system doesn't use fractions as much. They usually use decimals. So for those outside of the United States, you probably don't see fractions as often because everything's done in decimals. But in the United States, we use fractions a lot. So make sure you watch the videos on these. If you have questions, there's great resources out there, including myself. I know the math is picking up a little bit now, so do not hesitate to reach out to me with if you need any help on the math. So that's all I got for you this week. I hope you have a great week. We at the end of this week, we are officially halfway through the semester, so that is crazy. It's going so fast. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Have a good one. See ya.